Hi, we're here at Brighton Hyundai where we're going to install this rear vision camera to this Hyundai iLoad. So where we begin is by going backwards. We need to map a route to where our lead will travel. So we start off by working out how to get the cabling from the body to the door. In this case, we're mounting the camera on the top of the door, which means we need to run the cabling through these rubber grommets and up into the body, in the body of the door to meet up with the camera. So once the bracket's in place using the Tech screws or self-tapping screws, it's a good idea to seal around the screws with a good quality silicone sealant. Now that we've got the bracket mounted, we can fit the actual camera to the bracket. Okay. From there we'll adjust the angle at which we want to set the camera to adjust our viewing angle. But before we can do that, we need to drill a hole into the bodywork to allow this camera lead to connect to the lead in the body. To do that, we'll use a 20mm step saw. So what we've done now is we've threaded the cabling through the door. The connection on the end of the lead will marry up to the connection on the lead on the camera. So the lead now has been threaded through the bodywork. The camera now can be mounted to the bracket that we mounted earlier. There's a 20mm grommet to seal up the hole that we drilled earlier. Let's do that now. It's a nice tight fit. Great, so that's it, that's completed. From there we'll smear a little bit of silicone around that just to be doubly sure, and down in the hole there just to make sure there's no water leakage. And from there the camera will mount with the Allen bolts. We'll be adding the other 2 Allen bolts on either side, which will hold it all in place. But first of all we'll install the monitor and then check the angle that we want this mounted at. We've gone from the door, we need to come across through this rubber grommet, across the cabling, through this rubber grommet and into the body. You can begin by, with a pair of cutters, just nipping into the top and then run the cabling straight through. So now we're just going to check that the door shuts without crimping the cable or overstretching the cable. Now what we need to do is remove the internal fabrication of the vehicle. So these are quite easy to remove on this vehicle, on most vehicles in fact. Keep those, and then the fab comes off altogether. From here on we'll go under the matting in this case, which is very similar to a lot of passenger vehicles. Once you remove the fabrication on the door jambs, you can actually hide it under carpet, or in this case vinyl. It's a good idea to replace the fabs as you go along. So we've now run the cabling from the very back of the vehicle right through to the front of the vehicle, leaving us with a couple of meters of cabling. We now need to look at how to get power to the unit. Okay, so initially we need to connect the red cabling to anywhere from 12 to 24 volt. It'll regulate itself, so that's fine. You can run that anywhere from 12 to 24 volt. You need to feed the positive to this. And then you need to earth the black. So here we have the camera connections, and on the other end of the Y loop, the monitor connection. And what I've done here is extended that with a 1 meter extension, which I've then run up under the door rubber, up to the dash. So from here, we now are going to hide under the dash all our connections. Now you don't want it too high on the screen, and you don't want it to block your vision of the road either. You need to remove that panel to be able to access the cabling behind it. Now in this vehicle, I've had to pry off the plastic gently. Please do this carefully so that you're not breaking anything. And that then lifts out, exposing all your cabling underneath. So to test it, put the key in the ignition and turn to accessories. Notice the light comes on. When we turn the key off, it goes out. Okay, so we need to bring our cabling to the same point, and that will become our earth, which we will mount in there. Okay, so now that's completely exposed. Make sure the solder is melted right through all the cabling, not just sitting on the top. From here we're going to use some insulation tape, and that's the connection finished. And from there, we'll just put it all back together. One final connection and we can test that it's all working. On the top of the plugs, on the connections, there's an arrow on both plugs. Now it's very important you line those arrows up before you push the plugs together. Tighten that up, and that's it, that's your final connection. From there, we test with our key. So we'll turn the ignition on, and with any luck, you've done the job right, and you have a picture. So that is pretty much it.
If you have any questions, please feel free to call Safety Dave on 1800 072 338.